Part B, the explanations for selected questions in homework assignment number 1, part 2. So we have another 4 questions. The first one, part B.1, using JSP implicit objects. For question HW1, question number 12. So let us look at this question. In which of the following JSP elements the JSP implicit object cannot be used? All right. Here we have 3 options. The first one, JSP scriptlets. Second, JSP expressions. Third, JSP declarations. In our examples, we saw the first option, the second option, but we have not seen the third option. But the declarations, we have some general knowledge about Java class declarations, right? For a general Java class, you can declare different variables inside that class. So what kind of variables? Instance variables, methods, and inner classes also, right? Yeah. So here we can use the knowledge from general Java classes, but for JSP, there are some special properties we also need to learn. All right. First, for the JSP scriptlets to use implicit objects, we have that experience. Think about in our project 1, how do we retrieve Java Bean data from request scope? So let us recall that part. Here I just write the, expression, the main expression for that step. So we have a JSP scriptlet. Our goal, we want to retrieve our data that is a list of problem, right? Java Bean problem. All right. Then we need to give it variable name, right? For example, we call prob list equals, then we retrieve the data from the request scope, because in the servlet we store the data in the request scope. All right, but after you retrieve the data, you need to casting to the casting operator, then request the get attribute, right? Then attribute name, let's call prob list. How about that? So that's the typical way we retrieve data from request scope here for the JSP scriptlets example. And for JSP expression case, we have another example for that, the Duke example. Here, if we go to the Duke example, so this is from the Duke example. In our Duke example, there are 2 JSP. So this is the second JSP called the response.jsp. In that one, we have this code, this line. You can see it is a JSP expression. The equal sign tells us it is a JSP expression. Then you see request implicit object is used. Dot get parameter. Yeah, here, get parameter. Username. Think about get parameter. All right. Okay, yeah. All right. Okay, yeah. So that's the first two cases. But the third one, declarations, we need to learn a little more about on its properties. So here, let me give you some more background information regarding JSP declarations. All right. First, JSP declarations are for declaring members of the generated servlet class. We know each JSP is translated into a servlet class, right? Yeah. So that's our, basic knowledge. Each one translate to a servlet class. All right, yeah. The explicit servlet Java class can be found somewhere, although in some, hidden location, but it could be found in the particular server. All right. So the translation step. After that, then you can declare members, variables, methods in the translated servlet class. Translated. Sometimes you may need to declare some members. All right? Yeah. If you want to do that, you use this symbol, exclamation sign, for the declaration. Declare instance variables and methods. All right. Exclamation sign. All right. Yeah. So you can do that. All right. But after that, they are added to the servlet class outside the service method. Outside the service method. All right. So here, let me explain the service method. All right. When you translate to servlet class, all right. So for example, here I call it my servlet class. All right. Yeah. So you have the translated class definition. All right. So a lot of things, members. Then inside the servlet, there is a critical service method. Service method. Because each servlet should have a service method. All right? Yeah. A lot of statements, Java statements placed here. All right? So this is the main methods inside a servlet. Main method. All right. But this method is generated automatically. Yeah. So you will not see it. Nobody will see it. Yeah, we never see service method. So it's a hidden method. All right. We just see do get do post method, right? Yeah. But this hidden method is important, critical. All right. Yeah. It does the main work of data processing. All right. Actually, do get do post method is called inside the service method. Do post, do get inside this service method. Okay, yeah, inside this. All right. Then define instance variables, methods, or classes. Yeah. So here, look, you can see these members. After the translation, they will be copied outside the service method, not inside, outside the service method. Okay, yeah. That location will explain the scope concept. outside, then the class scope is used. So what's the class scope? That means the members you declared in this place in your JSP, after the translation, those members can be used anywhere in the class, in the translated class scope. The whole class, you can use those members. That's the class scope. There is another concept called a method scope. Method scope, so you can only use inside the service method. That is the method scope. Smaller scope, method scope. The class scope, larger than that, everywhere in this class. All right, so this tells you the scope difference. All right, define instance variables, methods, or classes. We know inner classes, right? Yeah, inside the translated servlet class, you can define other inner classes if you like. Yeah. All right. So if you want to do that, you do in the JSP declaration. All right. Then declare static variables and static methods. Yeah. Sometimes you may need to do that, right? Yeah. All right. The last, probably most important to our current question. So last probably is code within a declaration is copied at translation time. Yeah. When you do translation time, it is copied at the translation time. The server does, some server tool does that translation. All right. We know at the beginning, translation time, before the translated servlet is compiled, it is translated. Translated before compilation. Okay? Yeah. So here, look at the time. All right. The first JSP translation time. It happens first. All right. After translation, you have a servlet class. So then compile time. All right. After you compile, runtime, right? You need to run it, execute. Yeah. Runtime. All right. After you run the translated JSP to servlet, that class, it will generate the output, right? The output corresponds to a web page, right? So then there is a page rendering time. So then you see the page. So you can see in this order, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Now this declaration, the code copied at the first step, translation time, before compile time, and so on, right? Yeah. That means in this stage, the implicit objects at this translation time are not available. At translation time, implicit objects are not available, right? So you haven't compiled it. You haven't run it. Even at a compile time, it's still not available, right? At the runtime, they are available. Yeah. Because at the runtime, the server, the container, has the chance to create implicit objects and deliver to your translated servlet class, right? Yeah. So for that reason, after you understand these properties, now you understand, in which JSP element you can use implicit objects. Okay? All right. So that is the background of this question. All right. So we finish B.1 right here.